Okay, so now it's time to go down memory lane for me, and I guess you can come along too. Um, Back on my other channel, you know, I remember, I think, when the very first time I had ever heard of anything having to do with YouTube at all, it was for something absolutely ridiculous, like watching some pratfall, kind of like those Americans' stupidest home videos, but like on a clip you could bring up at work and kind of go, why is everybody sitting around that office table? What's going on? And then, there were like little animal videos. Oh, how cute the purring kitten, and, by the dryer, whatever it was. But it didn't take long before there were very incredibly wonderful students of film, or just really artistic people who wanted to do something absolutely different, that had, really used the medium. And then vloggers. Now, I will admit, I lurked vloggers for a super long time. Not cyberstalk, no, seriously. I refused. I did not want to get a subscription. I didn't want to set up a page for myself for a very long time, mainly because I wanted to watch how people were interacting, because that was very important to me. As far as I saw that people were putting so much time and effort into, their time on YouTube, and I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to be spending any time, devoting energy to this, I want to know that it's not just worthwhile for me, but for other people too, and that it's going to be a benefit to my life and not a liability. And because it was such a burgeoning thing, the way that people treated it, it was like that first date kind of time, where everyone's like on their best behavior and just really excited, and, that kind of thing. And so it was towards the very end of the year, I can't remember if it was 05 or 06. I think it might have been 06. I should look back on my other channel so I'm not embarrassing myself. What if it was 07, right? Because I spent a long time, I think I'd spent a long time looking and not, putting myself onto a channel. So then finally, a friend of mine who is not even on here anymore, but I'm so glad I still keep in touch with her on Facebook. She threw me a tag. She I don't know if I should put up my old tag video because it's just so corny, but she tagged me, and so I did my first video. So some of the things that were on my mind when I first started watching everybody was the way in which people treated each other. And because it was so small, so much more small, there was an intimacy to different communities, and there was kind of this, I don't know, like an undergroundy sort of a, wow, this is really, you're on the cutting edge of, what could this become? And there was no thought of, like the way it is now, which is so slick. And, I remember, I don't know if it was the first time that I had ever, well, I watched people starting to mirror videos because I noticed a lot of my friends were getting like DMCA and false flaggings and like all kinds of, I don't know, we call them runners. There's all kinds of weird, like, I should put together a little bit, because sometimes I talk to YouTubers and I'm like saying certain like verbiage terms and no one's ever heard of them before. But it just depends on what circles you've ran and that you pick up the lingo or whatever. But we'd call them runners because, if a whole bunch of people know this certain person and then one person comes down on them, then, all their little lemmings go against that person too, and then, a channel gets taken down. It's just like really ugliness, And because of that, I remember the first time I decided to mirror video, and it wasn't even because I necessarily happened to agree with it, which I did, but I still would have mirrored it anyhow if it hadn't have been for the fact that I felt that it had been so ridiculous that that person had their video taken down, and that just, it really disturbed me, you know, just like, I mean, I know that it's not all free speech or whatever because it's terms of contract, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, that was just a principle to me that, you know, really made a difference. So now I'm going to kind of break a code of silence here and talk about channel ups and downs, and some of what some people, and including myself, have done and will do. And I'm not saying this to brag or anything. I'm just talking about it because it's something that in my YouTube experience I've come across. If you've ever known someone who's had to keep like more than one channel or something like that, because they keep getting these ridiculous runners, that just, it's sickening, that they will always usually buddy up with 1 or 2 or 5 people who will like just mirror their vids or sequester their vids, or, you know, do something to back up their channel. You know, write letters as far as, you know, to YouTube, Google itself, and just say, hey, you know, this person really doesn't do what they're being accused of, and it does make a difference. Okay, I won't totally bust out that secret. Okay, shh, I'll be quiet, I'll be quiet. All right. There are some things, and why I said I'll be quiet is discretion is the better part of valor, you know? I remember when there was a shift, and in some ways it happened slowly, and in other ways it was quite abrupt, where, you know, that honeymoon time that I talked about, you know, like being on the first date, just really dramatically changed, and people went from recognizing the opportunities that they had to interact with each other, and there became a more harsh way of holding a conversation that somehow became a debate, and then all of a sudden, you know, feelings get hurt, and then, you know, it keeps escalating and escalating and escalating, and then like people who you've seen be friends, like all of a sudden they're like full on fighting with each other, and then there's always like people who take sides and this and that. It was just like, it was really scary to watch, because I just think when I'm watching one person and how the way they've treated a friend or something, like they're before the grace of God go, I mean, what's to stop, you know, from that happening to me? I always think, oh my gosh, you know, if that were me, you know, what would that feel like, or whatever. And I've sort of kept a greater part of an odd kind of a privacy for myself up until extremely recently, which sounds strange because, yeah, I've had my business channel up for that, but there were certain things that I couldn't do on that channel, and that I wanted to do, obviously, which is what I made this one for, but even more so because I knew that I was going to be putting myself up to vulnerability of that kind of thing. And so it just so happened that I got angry, really angry one night, and decided to, without better thinking, just put up the video about, you know, a particular news story, which I did. And I had pretty much almost always been one of those comments on approval or comments only from friends, sort of a yeah. And this time I did not. I let anybody leave anything. And shout out to Shakisha, who, and Gambler too, because I was so scared that every negative thing that could be said was going to just absolutely crush me to the core. And I was so shocked that it didn't bother me at all. And it still kind of does. I'm like, gosh, why doesn't that bug me? And I think part of it had to do with, you know, knowing who I am and the opinion of someone whom I don't respect is not to be considered any more than them blowing off steam or what have you. But that sort of discretion and privacy and courtesy and just a respect towards people in a way that, you know, it's so easy to hide behind whatever. I mean, not only the persona that people have on their channels, which, you know, I'm not saying that people are making up anything, but you do know you're behind glass, and so you probably would say things that you may or may not actually say right to a person's face, because the things sometimes I've heard would absolutely get someone smacked or slapped or knocked out. You know, and and that if you had to have said that in front of that person, that you might have just let it go, or taken a moment and, you know, really found an elegant or kind or more gentle way to express that same feeling, providing yourself with the compassion to not be accusing someone or something like that, that it would come off in a way that wasn't like, you know, gonna bother the person. And that's the reason why I'm not doing Coughlin 000's challenge. Until it's safe again, which so many people have left, and I'm not even going to get into all the people I miss, like genuinely miss, who not only have just left YouTube, but have passed away, as he mentioned. How many different guises of channels have I watched him go through, and I've followed, right? Well, that's why I'm not doing it, because people don't play nice anymore. And until I see that again, I mean, the people who I would shout out do play nice, but still, I really would like to see people really get back to that sort of intimacy of that kind of, the way it used to feel in the old days, because that's what made it so dynamic. That's what made it so thrilling, and that was what I got into it for, because it was just really a beautiful teaming expression of human beings, and that was always very beautiful to me. So I challenge you to play nice, and I'm wishing you all blessings of